Hello and welcome to Ula Tea Leaf Readings. My name is Lenor and tonight I'm going to be reading your tea leaves. This is a horoscope for Aquarius. If Aquarius is your solar, lunar, ascendant / rising sign, then this is a message for you. Okay, let's get started. And so, our card tonight for this bonus reading is the Magician. And this comes from the Book of Thoth deck. I will not try to pronounce it in its original. I think it's French. Okay, so let's see what these tea leaves have to say. And actually, even before we do that, I want to look at this card really quick because it is so beautiful. It really is one of my favorite depictions of the Magician. Okay. And so, let's go ahead and look. All right, so we have somebody who is sitting on a chair. It looks like a throne. I immediately see that, and then we have a little angel right here. A turtle. And it looks like we have maybe the Ace of Cups and a key. Let's see. Yes. I just want to turn this before we get set on any of these. Okay. All right, Aquarius. Oh yeah, see that's, gotta turn it. Turn it around so I can look at it. Oops. I always forget to turn off this water dispenser. Turn it so I can see what's going on. But let's start here. So we have a person who's sitting in a chair. It looks like maybe it is a throne. It looks to me to be probably the emperor. We can see that it almost feels like there may be the smoking and holding, it looks like a sword. Definitely looks like a sword. So immediately I wonder if this is maybe like the patriarch of the family or was that they've maybe transitioned. I get a very masculine energy, a very commanding energy, but also kind of an energy of just kind of having the power, right? But being very kind of easy with the words. Not quick to anger, not necessarily, letting everybody know I'm the one in control, but just kind of, sitting in the background. I can almost imagine sitting at like the kitchen table, right? And back then, back in the day, and I grew up in a house as well where, people smoked inside still. And so I can imagine maybe this was somebody who, occasionally would smoke inside or maybe did more often than not and kind of sat there at the kitchen table and like read the paper or played cards or whatever they were doing. And I feel like this is somebody who, it was kind of like a feeling of great respect, a little bit of being, there's some terror there sometimes. I don't think, it doesn't feel like there was any, it wasn't that they didn't, I don't feel like they were harmful, right? I feel like you just had great respect. And as you grew older, there was kind of maybe an intense love and bond there. But as a child, I think this person seemed like monumental, right? Like otherworldly, like a mythical being, right? And I could imagine that sometimes you would just maybe even just stand in the other room, peeking around the doorway, watching them. There was this sense of trying to be quiet and unnoticed a lot of times. But, I think it was more that you wanted to observe without having to really get involved in the situations that were going on. I think, and as an Aquarius, this makes sense to me, or looking at kind of the Aquarius, the attributes and energies, and I also am a lunar Aquarius, so maybe some of this in myself as well, but being somebody who is very perceptive and not always like super motivated to get involved in the thing, but definitely always keeping an eye out. Okay. So I feel like this is somebody really like coming through. I feel like you took on a lot of this person's maybe even like, for some reason, mannerisms came up in my mind. Mannerisms, but also I feel like a work ethic. I think that this was somebody who is a hard worker. They didn't complain a lot. They just kind of went about their business, did their thing. Were they always happy? Probably not. They're a little rough sometimes, anyways, kind of emotionally unavailable in some ways. But there was a consistency and really the ability to trust that they were going to do what they need to do and take care of the family and kind of family first. Sometimes making the hard decisions, sometimes doing things that didn't make sense to you as a child or a younger person, but knowing that they did their best. They weren't somebody that kind of just like ran off or, they were there, but they weren't really there. I think that they're very much involved in, the daily doings. So, let's see. We have the little angel right here. Okay. So I do feel like there is kind of a sense of visitation. And I did talk about this word. So I also want to say that this is a person that very intelligent, right? Very intelligent person. And I feel like this is because of this person in your life, it made you want to study more. I feel like this is a person that maybe was even like kind of self-taught. And you always really, I think it's almost kind of like, you respected them because they continued their education, on their own, right? They really worked hard to learn the things that they needed to, even like maybe teaching themselves math or different skills or whatever it was. But there was also kind of even, I think, maybe being a little embarrassed because it was like, I almost get the sense of being kind of old world or maybe kind of more rural, right? And you kind of seeing other people's parents and they like went to school and they have normal jobs and, just kind of, boring kinds of things and status quo, I should say, not boring. That's my own projection right there. But status quo and I think that, when we're young and we're like very impressionable and we don't want to stick out that much, right? Not because of our families anyways. So, I think that in some ways it was kind of like there was a pride there, but you also just wished that things were a little more, bland, right? But I think as you got older and you became an adult and then you had children or a family or whatever, however that worked out for you, you started to understand like how special this person is, how special this person influenced you to be an individual, and still have this motivation to be continuing your education always, right? Always having projects, always having things that you're working towards, figuring out, tinkering, and so on. And so I feel like this is somebody, maybe you've been dreaming about them, but I also feel like there's just been clear signs that they have been around, right? They are in your consciousness. You can feel them around the house. They're showing up in just little ways, okay? And now this could be that they are transitioned. It could be that they're elderly, right? And they maybe have gotten into a place where their health has, it's added to maybe them not being exactly the same as they were when you were younger, right? And so I feel in some ways you kind of really miss this person, even if they're still there with you, right? And that can happen, that can happen definitely. But I feel like there's an angel, and there's this moment of clarity where there's no question that there is a deep and eternal connection. But they've never been away, right? I feel like you felt them since, forever. Like they're just always there with you, and you carry them in your heart. Okay, this is one of your main people in your life. I think this is such an important person. And, in this period of time, for some reason, it's really prominent. And I wonder if there isn't, because we have the Ace of Cups or the Grail. We have a key, okay? And I want to... And we have a snail. Okay, there it is. That's what it is. It's a snail. And we have a turtle as well. So it's a turtle with the lunar crescent on its head, which is really interesting. I like that imagery. But there's a sense of slowing down. I feel like there's stress. You're in a period of stress right now. And I feel like it's almost kind of like there's like some kind of anniversary or a birthday or something coming up. And I think that you aren't consciously registering that. And I think that this is like in the subconscious adding on a sense of anxiety for you and maybe grief, some melancholy. But I do think that there's this real messaging of like, slow down, take your time. There's no rush, right? There's no rush. And really that snail, that turtle. Now, I think that there is definitely a wealth of emotions here. And I think that this really is kind of the key to your next thing. And I think that this is really... I feel like it's like a good place to begin a project. I'm thinking like if you're maybe like a writer or make you some kind of art, some kind of medium, right? I almost feel like there's almost like this real pull towards memorializing this person in a way that through your artwork, through your creativity. And it doesn't have to be overt, right? This could be something that is a labor of love, right? In my mind, I was thinking doing like, maybe like you want to build like a fire pit, for example, or, something with like bricks and you want to learn how to do that. And it will be, it'll be quite a project, and there's some mathematics in there and the measurements and, gathering the resources and figuring out like how to clear the area and put it in there and all these things, right? And that is the act of devotion, the act of memorial. This is the act of, of a beloved one, right? Somebody that, it's part of, in all the things that we do, it's like there are certain people we do carry with us, very profoundly. And we almost kind of sign their name along with all of the things that we do, especially the ones that we're proud of, because they live within us. We carry them. And I mean that in such an honest and real way. Like, we do. We are pieces of everyone that we've ever met, but even more than that, we are pieces of every person that we've ever really, really loved and spent time with, and especially those who have shared their time with us, who have taught us, who have, showed us things, who have, lived honestly in front of us, right? And I think that's such an important thing, to have these people, and they're not a lot. We don't get to experience that too much in life, but the people who just are who they are, right? Maybe not all the time, but there are moments where we get to see, when they cry a little bit, or you see them get really, really angry about something that is, very triggering to something that they've been through, or a circumstance of their life, and we see a little fragment of, oh, okay, I see this is something that, this is one of their wounds, right? When we get to see these things, or, the happiness and the dancing in the kitchen with mom and doting over whatever they loved, and, all these things that, these little fragments that we kind of, collect and put in our pocket, and we don't have a lot of opportunity to really see how people are, and so when somebody is welcoming enough, even if they are our parents or our grandparents or our spouse or whoever, but when they're welcoming enough to allow us to see them, that is a blessing. That is a blessing. So, I think that this is a key for you. This is going to open some doorways, and I think that this is going to be something beautiful that you do. If it's a ritual, ceremony, a creative project, or maybe this even has to do with creating resources for yourself, doing some work, in their honor, and so forth. Whatever it is, though, I think that this really is something that will be good for you. And I think that this is something that this person, would be so proud of you. They would be touched by this. And now I keep looking at this. We have a 6 and a 0. So we have 60. We have an X. And I wanted to turn this way because now it looks like we have a person standing here and their arms are up and they're holding what looks like a large lizard. And so I look at this and I immediately think, okay, this is kind of the salamander holding that fire. And this is really, it has to do with that magician energy. It really does. The salamander, for whatever reason, I always think of that as the main kind of line to the magician, because it is the spark. You know, the salamander is the keeper of the fire element. And it would be considered what we call an elemental. So this is kind of a personification of the element of fire. Fire being the creative force, the sexual force of the universe, the spark of life, the thing that, brings warmth and alivens. And so I see a person holding it and into this emotional area. And I think that, this really is your time to be, so creative, to manifest, to become truly that archetype of your life, your spiritual life, your emotional life, and hopefully, your physical life in the material, in base reality. But mostly and most importantly, I think that this is definitely work within those creative zones, very tied to the emotional, very tied to the spiritual. Okay. And so, I feel like in some way, and this is my superstitious thinking, which I am very superstitious, and I am quite the magical thinker, for better or worse. But I do believe that this is the key, and this is a key that will open greater perception of how to navigate into these places of manifesting. I think that you already have, that some kind of clairvoyance or psychic ability. I think that you are very perceptive. As I said, you are intuitive, creative, maybe even a little eccentric or surreal. And I do believe this from my Aquarius placement. I think this is why I love the absurd so much. The strange, the weird, and the absurd. I feel as though, I live beneath a bright moon, right? Or maybe a half moon. I don't know. But, over a field of just strange kind of Bosch-esque, the Garden of Delight, the strange creatures of the greatest imagination. And really very much in just ordinary life, I feel like it is just as absurd, existing in the world that we do. So, I think that you definitely also have some of these experiences, right? And I think that, you cannot forget how magical that truly is. You have the eyes, the mind, the wisdom of a magician. And you also have probably the work ethic as well, which is important. We forget how hard the magician works. It doesn't all come naturally. These are, it's not the sorcerer, it's not the witch, it's not, some being that is bestowed magical powers because of some deal or trade or anything like this. This is a being who studies and tries and tinkers around and reads and creates and fails a lot, but still, stays the course. So, yes, and I think that makes sense as well for an Aquarius person, somebody who is just very dogged in the things that they love, the things that they care for, will not give up. Will not give up. So let's see, what else do we have? So I have a watering can and I have 2 fish. So I do think that, you know, this is a time of abundance. We have the fish here. We have a watering can here. So I think that, you know, this really is that you have really begun to plant the seeds. You've already done a lot of that, I believe. You've set yourself up because you are really coming into this new part of your life. And I think that now that you've kind of already laid down a foundation, I think you have somewhat of a plan. You are getting more and more comfortable in this new chapter. There is a sense of the magical appearing more and more and more. You definitely, I think, are really seeing, like, you know, the synchronicities, the signs, the patterns, having messaging, divine messaging coming through, and visitors, obviously. So, you know, I think just really working on keeping yourself in a good place, grounded, staying in your routines, make sure that you are eating well, whatever that looks like for yourself. Intentional movement, whatever that looks like for yourself. Making sure you're drinking enough fluids and water and getting the nutrients you need, and, you know, all these kinds of things. And one of the biggest things, the healthy sleep. You know, getting into a good sleep routine, making sure that you are getting restful sleep, not just, you know, passing out or sleep, having little cat naps all the time or whatever it is, you know. And I know sometimes the circumstances of our lives don't allot for a lot of, you know, 8-hour sleeps. It would be nice if that were the case. But you do really need to do your best, right? And, you know I sound like mom saying all this, but I do. I believe that our sleep health is one of the most important things. If you're not getting enough, you know, REM sleep and all of that, you just are not getting that restorative time that you need. And, you know, we become unwound, right? So, yes, that's a big one. Now, let's take a look at the Mary Magdalene Oracle cards by Megan Watterson and illustrations by Moonjube. Okay, and we're just going to flip through here. And it says, beloved, love never ends. Yes. These cards are so beautiful. I keep saying it in every reading. Oh, let's do another one. I want to show you one more. They're so pretty. They're kind of this collage style. Okay, so it says, everything comes from within. The rose, I trust divine timing. Yes, the divine timing. And this one came too. It says, sacred worth. I am worthy of love. They are so pretty. I'm worthy of love, sacred worth. We have the rose. I trust divine timing. And beloved, love never ends. Yeah. I could live in these cards. They're gorgeous. Absolutely gorgeous. All right, TT, tell these peoples good night. You want to come over here and purr for them? I know you like to. Come on. You want me to hold you? Come over here. Are you going to come? Come on. No, you just want to sit there? Okay, she's just going to sit there, she says. All right, so Aquarius, I want to thank you for joining me for this bonus video. It is always such a pleasure and an honor to be able to spend this time with you. If you would be so kind as to like the video, it really does help the channel so much. And if you have not subscribed yet, please think about doing that. You can hit the little bell. It'll let you know when the next videos are coming out. And it is free to subscribe. If you'd like to leave a comment, please do. I read them all. They mean so much to me. And to Titi. She loves, I tell her all about her comments and I read her some of them, and she's become quite a diva because of it. She knows she's so beloved, aren't you? Aren't you? All right. I want to thank you and I love you, and we will talk in just a few days. Take care of yourself. Happy almost, or maybe it is Aquarius season. I don't know if this is coming out on the day of Aquarius season. Sorry, I don't know. It should be in the next couple days anyways. All right. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Goodbye.